Hi everyone, my name is Christine from These Succulent Biddies, and here we talk all about succulent care tips and how to grow them. So today we're gonna focus on my succulent cluster over here. This is called an Echeveria silver onion. I don't know if that's the actual ID, okay, but that was the ID tag that came with it when I bought it. And this pot right here used to be really full, and these babies used to be a lot bigger, and as time went on they shrunk and they got smaller and smaller, and today I decided I have to go ahead and help it out and fix it. See, I like growing succulents in clusters like this. What I normally do is when a succulent starts having babies is I cut off the mother plant right on top, and then it'll just shoot out a bunch of babies as it keeps growing as far as the mother stem goes. As clusters grow and mature and these stems grow a lot longer and they depend on one root system, they start to grow their own roots, trying to anchor themselves into the soil so they can get more water and nutrition from the soil. But the longer that it is in there, it stays really nice for a good year or two, and then after that you'll notice that as the stems get longer, the succulent starts to struggle a little bit as far as growing, unless you of course have it planted right in the ground. But I grow all my succulents in pots, and this mother stem right here has been in this particular pot for maybe going on 2 years now, or a little bit over 2 years. And it's time to go ahead and repot, help her out, and cut out any babies that are struggling. I'm not going to cut off everything. I'm going to leave the little tiny ones on the stem there, but I'm going to try to clean up all of this so that they can start to grow nicely again, but on their own, not so much in clusters. You see how this one right here, it's been raining a lot outside lately, so this pot has been getting a lot of water. You can see it's not terracotta, so it doesn't dry up as quickly as it would if it was planted in terracotta. So as a result of that, I noticed that some of the stems have started drying off, like that one. I'm not even sure if that was raw or it dried off, because for a certain amount of time it wasn't getting enough water. But when I check the stem here, there really isn't much signs of rot because it's still green in there. So I think it honestly just dried out, and then here's some air roots that have grown and dried up. Let me look throughout the pot. This one looks like it is too. Actually, it just detached right away. See? Soil is a little bit wet there because it did rain last night, and the same thing is kind of happening throughout the plant. So here's my cluster now, and I've kind of broke off all the babies that seemed like the stems were struggling, so I can go ahead and replant them in their own pots. And now everything else seems to be okay. I'm checking the main stem here if it's still nice and firm, and I'm actually going to dig it out to see how healthy it is, or if it's even still alive, because sometimes mother stems do end up dying, and we've been having a lot of rain lately, so I'm kind of concerned that this particular cluster may have gotten overwatered. These babies are still here because they still seem okay, and if this mother stem is still alive, then I can continue growing this as a cluster just in another pot. So let's go ahead and take her out here. Succulents have very shallow root systems. Look at how big this pot is, and that's pretty much all the roots. I don't know if it's because the old roots have rotted, but once in a while, as nice as your clusters are, if you notice that, I'm just taking off the old soil here, if you notice that it seems to be struggling as far as growth goes, see, that's a rotted stem right there. As far as its health goes and it's not growing as nicely as it used to be, then it might be time to go ahead and check the mother stem and repot. And here I keep pressing on it, right? And at the very bottom here, I keep pressing, and it seems like it's still okay. But then I get to down here, this part right here, it's very spongy. So that could mean that this mother stem is actually starting to die and rot. So if I want to save this plant, I'm gonna have to take off those babies. Let me go ahead and cut it so I can show you guys what's probably going on in that stem. So there's the bottom of the stem. It's brown, and It's firm, but I think it's starting to rot. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that off. Any of these babies right here, take them off before they get affected at the bottom of the mother stem. And I'm gonna cut again just to see how far that's gone, because I want to save that stem if it's still alive. I like growing them in clusters, and I'm honestly not quite sure if this will survive. I don't see any signs of rot, but the fact that it's not like a bright green concerns me. So this is the reason why I kind of just keep cutting. You know, if I cannot keep the stem, it's okay. It's been with me for years and has given me over 20 or 30 babies in its lifetime. Now it's just time to move on and grow her babies on their own and possibly start new clusters later on when I start beheading again. I honestly think this stem might have a chance, so I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm gonna try to grow this, keep it the way it is. I'm gonna clean it up, and then I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the other babies and plant them in their own pot so I can show you the end outcome. I'm also gonna show you somewhere in the video how this cluster looked when it was in its prime and completely healthy and the babies just kept growing. Here are all the babies that I have gathered and cleaned up off of that cluster that weren't doing so well. I'm going to trim some of them up, and then I'm going to go ahead and plant them in a new pot so they can look really nice again. Then here's what's left of that cluster after cleaning it up, and you know, of course there's not as much left because I pretty much took off all the babies so they can survive. And here is the big mother stem. I'm going to give it a shot and see if she'll grow new roots and I can still grow this nicely as a cluster, because small as it is now, you gotta admit that is super cute, guys. I love this little cluster. Put it in a nice terracotta pot, and then I don't like top dressing. It'd be a lot nicer with top dressing, but I really just want to save the form of this and grow it like that, because it takes years for succulents to grow this way. And if I can preserve it, I'm going to preserve it as much as I can. If not, this stem right here will slowly soften up over time if it doesn't grow any roots. And then I can just separate these babies if that's the case. But hopefully it does live, because it's still really nice and firm. So you see, some of these stems are really long, and I don't really want to plant them that way, as nice as they are, because the longer the stem is, the less healthy your plant will be. I've noticed with echeverias. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off and just cut that much off right there, and then I will probably plant this sideways because that baby is right there. Cut this off, and this one right here. I'm just making everything shorter. I want a new root system to develop under those, and I want it to be as close to the rosette as possible. Trimming up your succulents is very vital for their health if you want them to grow better in the long run when they have gotten too long. So that's why I went ahead and cut these up. And as always, I apply cinnamon to all of the open cuts, because cinnamon can act as a rooting hormone. And of course, dip the cluster in cinnamon as well. So I have this pot here of very dry and well draining soil. In case you guys want to know what soil I use, it is called Sunshine Mix Aggregate Plus number 4, and it works really well for my succulents. I'm going to have to plant this one here sideways because the stem is a little bit longer. Try to press it firmly in there so it can be in the soil. And then if of course you don't have that available in your stores, I always just buy what is readily available. You can simply buy any type of potting mix. Make sure it is potting mix, not potting soil, and mix it with pumice or perlite, whatever is available to you. Just make sure that your soil is very well draining and that when you plant cuttings, your soil is very, very dry. My number one rule of thumb is no roots, no water. Okay, so if it takes 3 to 4 weeks, which is most of the time it does, for them to root, then no water for 3 to 4 weeks. That's as simple as it goes. If you want to completely be on the safe side, you can go ahead and air dry these for a good three days. If they're this small, 3 days should be enough, maybe even 2 days. I don't do that because I am going to go ahead and grow these guys under my grow lights, and I know that they're not going to get wet anytime soon. If you are rooting them and you know that they're going to be outdoors and there's a chance that they might get wet or the humidity is high outdoors, then you're probably going to want to go ahead and callus these cuttings. But when they are grown outdoors, when you're rooting them outdoors, you have to kind of place them in a bright shaded area with no direct light. And you'll notice that over time they're going to get a little bit leggy until they start to grow roots and you can expose them to direct sunlight. But indoors, I'm able to keep their form this way and without them stretching so much, or actually not even stress much at all. So there's my new pot of my Rignoni cuttings over here, and we're gonna plant our cluster over here, and hopefully guys, this grows roots and this mother stem is still alive, because I really want to keep their form. It's just the cutest thing ever. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dig it into the soil a little bit there, not too deep. I just want to bury the mother stem, but I want those babies to stick out. And isn't that just the cutest little thing? This would of course look a lot better with top dressing, but I am not a fan of top dressing. It keeps moisture in the soil a lot longer than I would like it to, so I just choose not to, and that little baby just fell off. That's okay. So there you go. There's my little cluster growth in its own pot, and I will give you guys an update in a few months to let you know how they do. So here they are now, placed under my grow lights. It's about that far from the lights, and they will be rooting here. I won't be watering them until they have roots. I will probably check in about 3 to 4 weeks, and there they are. This way I don't have to deal with them stretching. And there's my beautiful little cluster there. Those are my Echeveria rainbows, but that will be another tour. Anyways, guys, I hope this video helped you somehow. If you have any questions, please go ahead and leave a comment down below and like this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you.